As the crow flies, this area is approximately 600 miles southeast of John O'Groats at the northeastern tip of Scotland. It is also 260 miles north of Dover at the southeast tip of England. Interestingly, the Greenwich Mean Time Trail was opened in 2009. The 273 miles walk passes through Boston and Cleethorpes, both in Lincolnshire. The 0° line goes off into the North Sea near Withensea on the north bank of the River Humber, about 25 miles north of here. This area of northeast Lincolnshire became well known to me soon after the 23rd of June 2016, when 52% of the UK electorate voted with their feet to leave the EU. The vote to leave the EU would have sent shivers down the spine of the Brits living abroad in EU countries, especially France, Portugal, Spain and also Bulgaria. But for me, I immediately realised that the Brexit vote hammered another nail in the coffin of my marriage. Whereas 8 years earlier it was a one-way journey from Grimsby to our place in the sun, now we would be making the one-way journey back from a vibrant and lively atmosphere of Sophia to return to live back in Grimsby. I was very unhappy. I immediately set about shedding approximately 40 kilos in weight as a result of the good life in Bulgaria. Walking was definitely the answer. I joined walking football at the Bradley Sports Centre in Grimsby, less than half a mile from my home. It gave me options, especially on cold and wet days when walking during the winter months might have been uncomfortable in strong winds or heavy rain on a deserted beach. Better to have fun on an all-weather playing surface. Most of the other walking footballers were of a similar age to me. At the time, I was 69 years. It was a good workout using more muscles than just a brisk walk. It also gave me a chance to make new friends with like-minded people. In 2017, I had walked mainly to the southeast of Grimsby, as far south as Mablethorpe. Even though some of the walks seemed mundane and featureless, I still enjoyed walking as close to the sea as possible. The weather was cold as we entered 2018, but that didn't stop me walking every day. I continued walking to the southwest of Grimsby, which involved travelling through or round the town of Louth. Louth is at the foot of the Lincolnshire Wolds and is appropriately called the capital of the Wolds. So early in the year brought some cold and windy weather, but nevertheless very enjoyable walks. However, still too early to take chances with the weather. A few days later, I walked the disused railway path from Louth to Grimsby and was surprised to find the Lincolnshire Wolds Railway, obviously in its early stages. The single track runs north for a couple of miles to North Thoresby. For the first time, I planned a walk to the northwest of Grimsby along the south bank of the River Humber. My elderly neighbour offered me a lift to the Humber Bridge to walk back home, a distance of 25 miles. My objective of losing 40 kilos in weight in a year was perhaps unrealistic, but my weight started at 16 stone 4 pounds, that's 103 kilos, and was now 12 stone 7, 79 kilos, a loss of 25 kilos, almost 4 stone. It was nice to be back on the North Sea coast again, and this particular walk from Mablethorpe back to Grimsby. It became one of my favourites. Today I was heading for Cleethorpes via Tetney Lock, where I'll be able to buy a nice cup of tea at the Crown and Anchor public house. It didn't take long to reach Tetney. The tank farm is visible miles away. I've walked from Grimsby to Tetney many times and found it to be a very interesting walk for several reasons. Just outside the village of Tetney, as you head north towards Humberston and Cleethorpes, a pipe runs from the Tetney tank farm over the path to a supertanker anchored about 4 miles into the North Sea. The load of thousands of tons of crude oil is pumped to the Tetney oil farm, and from there pumped in a relatively new pipeline to the Lindsley oil refinery at North Killingham near Immingham, approximately 12 miles away. A further 2 or 3 miles north, the zoom on my camera was used again to pick out the Spurn Point Lighthouse on the north bank of the River Humber. Even though it is clearly visible, being approximately 4 miles away, to walk to Spurn would involve a 60-mile walk via the Humber Bridge and Hull. To actually do that walk was something I was seriously considering, especially as I was born in Hull in 1948 and lived in Hessel close to the Humber Bridge, which was opened in 1981. The past 18 months of walking has been an eye-opener to me. I have never regarded myself as being an actual walker, but more as a walking fundraiser dating back to the 70s and 80s. At the time, my walking partner was my daughter Sam, who was born in 1973. This photo was taken in 2022 near Ilfracombe, when Sam and Rick, with grandchildren Max and Ilsa, were enjoying a walking and camping holiday. Both Sam and Rick will be celebrating their 50th birthdays this year, 2023, and I will also be celebrating my 75th birthday in July. The Humber Bridge took 8 years to build. It was opened on the 24th of June 1981, a week before my daughter Sam's 8th birthday. It was officially opened by the Queen 2 weeks later. At the time, it was the biggest single-span suspension bridge in the world. Sam and I walked the bridge many times in the early 80s, and it was that led to much bigger walks, mainly fundraising events. The Humber Bridge site became the starting point for many long-distance walks, such as the Transpennine Trail and also the Beverley 20. The Beverley 20 started with a 4 miles walk along the northern path of the river to North Ferriby, before heading north through the village, heading for Beverley Minster. It was a stunning walk, but we were doing it for a special reason. In the early 80s, I became team coach of one of the 6 teams that Fish Trades Boys Club had in the Hull Sunday League. Because of the sudden demise of the fishing industry, the club had to generate its own funds to survive. It was all about providing sports activities to keep youths off the streets. And so, walking the Beverley 20 was good preparation for a walk that had become almost an annual event, the Lyke Wake Walk, a 42 miles walk across the rugged terrain of the North Yorkshire moors. This VHS clip from my archive from 1985 shows a typical Lyke Wake walk party of walkers from Fish Trades Boys Club. The weather played a big part in the success of the walk, and everybody walked the full 42 miles. Sam first did the walk when she was 9 in 1982. In 1985, many did the walk twice, the first one in June and the second one in August, which was in aid of the Bradford fire appeal, when the main stand at the Valley Parade ground burned to the ground, killing 56 people and injuring 265. The last section of the walk is tough going, especially the hill at Juggerho. After the walk, it is customary to go to the Ravenscow Hotel and get your breath back before a long journey home. In the last week of May 1987, when Sam was just 13 years old, the two of us set off from the Humber Bridge to walk 173 miles to Greenwich in London. The story hit the headlines on the front page of the Hull Daily Mail. We hoped to complete the walk within 5 or 6 days. That's 29 miles per day. We would be taking a route as close to the Greenwich Mean Time 0 degrees timeline as possible. Our first day's walk was to Market Raisin, around 30 miles south of the Humber Bridge. The owners of the Limes Hotel treat us like royalty. We didn't take a video camera, so Sam took a few shots on the way. It was a hard walk, mainly road walking. Tottenham Hotspur Football Club laid on a buffet, and Sam was delighted to visit the changing rooms, where she sat in the usual seats taken by Chris Waddle and Glenn Hoddle, who had pop star status and also a hit in the charts around that time. Zamo of TV programme Grange Hill turned up to meet Sam and I, and it was a magic moment for Sam to meet one of her idols. We raised over £10,000 for Fish Trades Boys Club. It was an amazing adventure with many happy memories. It was a gap of 15 years since Sam and I had any joint involvement in the Lyke Wake Walk. On Friday the 21st of June 2002, Sam had organised another Lyke Wake Walk, this time for a party of employees and their friends from the Museum of Science and Industry in Manchester, where Sam was one of the managers. This time, Sam had decided to join the support team, catering for walkers at 9 miles intervals, whilst I was the walk leader, taking the party across the North Yorkshire moors. We all arrived safely at Osmotherley after a long drive from Manchester. The usual formula that evolved quite successfully was arriving at 9 p.m, having fish and chips, and then setting off at 10 p.m, which meant that we all got off to a good start. Everybody was in good spirits and highly talkative as we walked through the forest into the darkness. Sam had brought some homemade stew and other tasty treats and organised the catering team very successfully. It seemed strange to to be walking the Lightweight Walk without her by my side. In my opinion, after completing the Lightweight Walk so many times over the years, the first 9 miles from Osmotherley is definitely the toughest part of the walk. Daylight broke just before 3 AM as the party headed direct east towards the North Sea coast, but more importantly, the rising sun. Another refreshment stop after 18 miles was most welcome. It was a friendly group of walkers, and for me it was very nice to be reacquainted with some of Sam's friends from over the years. We were making good progress. The weather was perfect throughout the day as we approached the halfway stage and the third refreshment stop. 1 or 2 walkers dropped out suffering with blisters. The warm sunshine was a pleasure to walk in, with a fresh headwind as we made rapid progress. The notorious steep hill at Jugger Hoe was a tough climb for us all, but from here the mast at Ravensthorpe marked the finishing point of the walk. Just 2 miles to go now. It was a massive effort from the party to raise much needed funds to the Cancer Research Fund. Well done to Sam and a catering party and all the volunteer drivers. It was all in a good cause. In June 2004, I walked the Lightweight Walk yet again. This time with a party of 33 walkers from the Lion Inn in Basford, Nottingham, to raise £10,000 for the Haywood House Cancer Care Unit, City Hospital, Nottingham, knowing that this would be the last time I would be doing the Lightweight Walk. I made a DVD of the event, which you can see on my YouTube site, at Jim Hawkins Walks the UK. You may be interested to know that the website address of the Lightweight Walk organisation, www.lightwake.org. In late March 2018, a friend gave me a cutting from the Daily Mail showing plans to open a 2,700 miles coast path around England. Ironically, the following week my marriage ended. I was in a dark place for a few days. I started to work on the van that we brought back from Bulgaria in 2016 that we had recently re-registered. It was an old 1993 VW with 300,000 kilometres on the clock, but it was totally reliable, a good runner, and we had recently started to convert it into a camper van. It started life as a 9-seater minibus. It was purple in colour because it was used as a means of transport for a Sofia-based rock band that I played in from 2012 to 2016. We played a Jimi Hendrix tribute. The band was called Purple Haze. It was due for another lease of life, this time as my mobile home for 15 months. I planned a walk around the coastal path of England, Wales and Scotland, taking 390 days to walk exactly 5,000 miles. I had a solar panel fitted, leisure batteries, an inverter to convert 12 volts DC into 240 volts AC. I installed 2 computers and a dongle to receive internet coverage. My next major job was to plan a route. The thinking behind taking such a massive plan was to give us some thinking time. I am a big believer in time heals. I decided to walk the UK coastline anti-clockwise. To plan a 390 days walk seemed very ambitious. I was now fit, my perfect weight, and very willing, but had no idea how far I might get. The whole idea of walking the entire coast of Britain appealed to me, because I like walking, I like meeting people, and I like making videos. With my 70th birthday coming up in 4 months' time in July, I would enjoy the massive sense of adventure, the fresh air and the exercise. With my camper van fitted out with every possible need, I was now raring to go. I chose the 12th of April to leave Grimsby and head for the Humber Bridge and cross the river, not only to my home county of Yorkshire, but also my home city of Hull. The Grimsby Evening Telegraph wrote a brief article about my intentions of walking 9.9 million steps around England, Wales and Scotland coast path. It was the only publicity I received. My daughter Sam deserves a big mention. She worked very hard to help me in any way possible, especially regarding her IT skills, including building a new YouTube website, which proved to be priceless. During the walk she was constantly in touch and was of massive support. May I introduce my partner, Rita. We met for the first time on Valentine's Day 2022. We now live together in Glossop, Derbyshire. We are very happy together in every way, and we enjoy walking together. Rita and I watched almost every step of my walk on YouTube. She is the first person I have ever actually sat with on a sofa to watch it. Rita inspired me to re-edit and relaunch the whole series 5 years after setting off on the 12th of April 2018. I can't thank her enough for her help, inspiration, her love and her incredible IT skills. The walk was an incredible experience for many reasons. This was the only opportunity I would get to take on such a huge project, even at almost 70 years old. It was tough throughout. It was a real test of my ability to stay focused on the job in hand. I have heard of many people who have been successful of doing the distance, but I have not heard of anyone taking a video camera and filming every day's walk and then publishing it onto YouTube and creating an interesting daily audience. After setting off in April 2018, it was at the very beginning of the incredible weather in the British Isles. The summer of 2018 was similar to that of 1976. The favourable weather gave me the opportunity to walk throughout the winter of 2018 and 19, and also the summer of 2019. It ended at John O'Groats in September 2019, having walked 4,700 miles. Then, in 2020, came COVID. I have decided to re-edit the original footage, but this time present it in a more organised way with more information. My previous attempt at presenting the full story was made in the back of my VW camper van, and a lot of mistakes were made. May I also say that any reference to my ex-wife has been deleted. That is purely because after 5 years, when our marriage ended, it would be disrespectful of me to include her in the new edit. I have now moved on, and I sincerely hope that she has too. In July this year, 2023, I celebrate my 75th birthday and will publish another series of 10 shorter films called 9.9 Million Steps Around the UK. Each episode will feature 1 million steps of my walk, all the way through, showing the full 10 episodes of the walk. Thanks for watching, kind regards to you all, and thanks for your support in the past, and I hope you will continue to support me in the future. Cheers, bye now.